Welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Hope this finds you doing well. Hope you had a splendid weekend, everybody. I'm Jeff. Tom will be along shortly. Director Matthew is in the studio making sure this goes smoothly. We are live. This is not taped, but we are live from the Hizzy as there's a lot going on for Tom and I. So we're in the house, but we're live. We can read the chat. You got questions, fire away. Let's go. Let's get after it. What a weekend it was for Florida State softball. By the way, Tom, at the start of the show, I do want to point out something here right off the bat. Two of our very favorite players of all time. I don't know if you saw the release that from Derek, but Florida State looking to get two more into the College Football Hall of Fame, as it's Peter Warrick and Warrick Dunn. And I bet you would not have to, if you walked up to a random Florida State fan and said, all right, name the five best players, five most important players, five decorated players, it wouldn't take them long to get to Warrick Dunn and Peter Warrick. It'll be a couple names, right, before one of their names was mentioned. And so it is that now they get a chance to go into the Hall of Fame. Hope so.
Yeah, especially when you say most important. You know, it was strange for about 2-3 months there as Dalvin Cook was ascending up the leaderboards of FSU's all-time leading rusher and setting records for single season yards and career and all these kinds of things that Dalvin did. And I remember one day we were on the air on the other side of the FM dial. And I said, can we just say it now that Dalvin is the best running back Florida State's ever had? You're like, yeah, even better than Warrick Dunn? Yeah. But when you talk about the total package of the importance to the program, somebody that is emblematic of a time in which Florida State went from dominant to championship, Warrick Dunn was there for that transition. And he was one of my first sporting heroes. Obviously he's not going into the College Football Hall of Fame for his time with the Bucs in the NFL, but to have my favorite football player in the world go from playing for my team on Saturdays to Sundays, Warrick Dunn is always a very special part of what it means to me to be a football fan. I hope it's a short stay for him on the ballot. I hope it's this time and straight through, because what he did off the field is even better than all the things he did on the field. He continues to do these things for charities and his own charity. Peter Warrick was just mind-blowing. What an amazing football player to watch. It's funny, though. Those are the players that I saw in elementary school and in middle school, and you were a full-fledged adult when you got to see those guys' careers.
Yeah, that's my era, man. That's my time. I got to Tallahassee in 91, and Warrick Dunn, of course, played from 93 through 96, and he was a guy and Peter Warrick was, 96 through 99. So there you go. And I can still remember covering Peter Warrick. He was one of the guys. I don't get too starstruck, certainly not anymore. But back then, when I first started in media and started doing work for radio stations and had an opportunity to kind of make this my career, Peter Warrick was one of the first guys that I have to admit, when I went over to cover a practice, I saw Peter Warrick one day, 98, I think it was. And I remember thinking, holy moly, that's Peter effing Warrick. I mean, that dude. And I still think, by the way, I have never seen in Florida State history a more electrifying player than Peter Warrick. No, you can talk about greatest athletes of all time, and Deion Sanders is going to come to mind immediately. If you talk about the best athletes to ever play here, you cannot deny Deion Sanders that credit that he is due. But Peter Warrick, I had never seen anybody play receiver like him. I think a lot of people, because his pro career didn't flourish as much as his college career did, forget a little bit. I'm talking about nationally, kind of forget what Peter Warrick was. But what Peter Warrick was in college, simply put, I thought he was the best player in the country. I really didn't even think it was that close. He was unreal on a weekly basis in college. And when you watch his highlight reels to this day, you recognize it translates. It's funny. You and I have had long conversations about watching, the off season, you find yourself kind of just flipping around, and occasionally you'll come across, whether it's the SEC network, the ACC network, maybe it's ESPN2 or something like that, ESPN News, you'll find these old games. And every now and then, it doesn't even have to be a game between Florida State and somebody. It could just be a game from 94 that you're like, oh, I forgot about this game. This was an amazing game. And when you're watching those games, every now and then you'll see something you're like, well, that wouldn't play today. That doesn't work, not only just in the way that it was called, but also just certain elements of the game that has advanced from that time and to where we are now. And you do the same thing, I think, with players. There are players you watch play from the late 80s, mid 80s, early 90s, and you're like, he would have to have been a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit longer, whatever it might be. And then there are guys like Peter Warrick and Warrick Dunn. And Warrick Dunn was so ahead of his time. He was one of these players that now is standard in the pro game as well as the college game that have the multidimensional skills of catching the ball out of the backfield. These diminutive guys that can make you miss and get lost behind the line of scrimmage and find ways to live in a big man's world. And they get down, they don't you never square them up. We see backs like that all the time. But Warrick Dunn, Marshall Faulk's really the guy that gets a ton of credit for that in the NFL, and I understand why. But Warrick Dunn was kind of way ahead of his time, and that's why I thought years later they would reconsider in the NFL whether or not, if you just look at yards from scrimmage, we're just talking about total yards, Warrick Dunn would be a guy you'd have to consider for the Hall of Fame. But back to my point, when I watch Peter Warrick and those highlight reels, that guy would be a superstar in today's game. Peter Warrick would be a superstar at wide receiver in today's game. It was remarkable to watch him.
It'd be fun to watch both of these players in the current offense that Florida State has too. This is something we've been very lucky and spoiled as Florida State fans over the decades now, is you've seen varieties of offense from different coaching minds, different styles, but explosiveness. That's just been something that Florida State has been about. And Mickey Andrews in the defense, yes, that was absolutely a hallmark of Florida State football, and the man deserves a statue. But offensively speaking, you think about the skill position players that have been in Florida State, the cutting-edge offensive strategy, that goes all the way back to Bobby's early career, the Kentucky Derby offense, and then Jimbo's record-setting offense. Even though it wasn't for pace, he put all of the pieces together, and that 2013 team averaged over 51 points a game, running at the speed of Army. Didn't make any sense at all. And now you have this offense with Mike Norvell that is crafted for playmakers. We chuckled at it when he first got here, and now you see it each and every week. And it's a different player, it seems like, on every drive or in every game. But if you were to put a player like Warrick Dunn or a player like Peter Warrick in this offense, they do it in any offense, but in this offense especially, you just think about the numbers that would look incredible on the stat sheet. I'm sure Warrick Dunn in today's day and age of up-tempo football would have run for close to 2,000 yards in a season. But all in all, it's fun to talk about these guys, and when they get their just due, it's fun to honor them. And both of them are going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of when.
We'll segue quickly. I'll circle back to those two in the College Football Hall of Fame in general. It's kind of a weird election process. I do like when they make the announcements every year around this time as to who's on the ballot, because it's a trip down memory lane for all of us that love this sport and that have been addicted to this sport for, the better part of 40 years. And you go back and see some of those names, and it's a trip to childhood. It's a moment in time where you remember watching those players above and beyond just Florida State. It's across the sport. Of course, we have to get to the fact that there is, a game tonight that I think we're excited about, 7:00, Florida State and Tennessee, getting it on in softball. What riveting action against Washington we watched over the weekend, Tom. I leapt around just like a little kid after the catch and the double play and the moment of realization, it's over. I don't have to be nervous anymore. We're good to go. Let's keep it rolling. We did what we needed to do. Yeah, man, it'll be fun tonight against Tennessee. By the way, Oklahoma is playing right now, and we'll update you. If you guys aren't around, a scoreboard, it's 2-2, Oklahoma and Stanford in the fourth inning. So that's not nothing. They're hanging in.
Yeah, and this is a night where you hope you don't play twice. Florida State, if they do not come away with a win in the first game,
play again
late into the night. Let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope that Oklahoma instead is playing around 4:30 this afternoon, because it means that there's a chance that Patty Gasso's bunch could be eliminated. But I thought our previous game was the bumpy one, and I hope that's the last bumpy one, because Cat wasn't the same pitcher. You use an opener, and I get that strategy. Besides, it's a freshman, and it's great experience for Reed to start the game. But I thought Cat's first inning plus was not that sharp. A lot of good hard hit contact.
Adam balls, things.
Adam balls, a couple to right field. That's the one that gets you out of the second inning. It wasn't great defensively, made a couple of boneheaded mistakes on the base paths. You make a couple of errors there. Let's just put it simply. If you get out of this game, you cannot make those mistakes against Oklahoma in a best of 3 and expect to win a national championship. You just can't do it. You are good enough to do that against Washington. And that's what Saturday was. But this is a bunch that's just, again, as is the case with every season of Lonnie Alameda softball, really easy to get behind, really easy to root for, and be along for the ride with. I was doing a game thread on warchant.com during the game on Saturday, and it was a blast. And every moment in those last few innings felt like it was going to be the difference between a win or a loss. And, it looked good for the first few innings, but that last 45 minutes or so, you're just kind of on the edge of your seat. And thankfully, just like 5 years ago, it ends for Washington with a double play. And
yeah,
awesome.
You're going to run into a Washington fan somehow, some way at an airport, and you're going to have your Florida State gear on, and they're going to have an odd hatred for you, and you'll be racking your brain. Why Washington? Oh, yes. No, the heartbreak we've caused you all. Yes, indeed. It's a great play. It's also an unlucky play for Washington. Such is life. It happens that way sometimes.
I mean, she got up there, needed every centimeter.
She made a play. Yeah.
That, as you look at it, the angle from behind home plate for the play-by-play doesn't tell you how necessary the jump was, because sometimes it'll land right in the base of the palm of your hand. But Josie had to get way up there, every bit of her 5'5" frame and the explosiveness in order to be in a position to make the play. But then again, it's just knowing about to do with the next detail, being able to fire the ball over and double off and make it a moot point. But it was scary. Let's hope they're a little cleaner tonight. You don't want to play twice. If you could be a little cleaner tonight, you get all that extra rest for the best of 3.
Not that people care all that much about what is happening in the world of college baseball from over the weekend, but Florida, the number 2 national seed, as we embrace Schadenfreude, is in a winner-take-all game in their regional right now against Texas Tech. Unfortunately, they lead that game 3-0 in the 5th inning right now. I'll keep you posted on that one, but if Florida were to fall early like this, well, that would just be a damn shame now, wouldn't it, to be the number 2 national seed and somehow fall in your face. We'll see. We'll see if that happens or not. I won't spend too much time on it. I will note it's not going to make you feel that much better, but I went through all of this. I actually caught myself watching a lot of this. I watched a lot of softball and a lot of baseball over the weekend. And, of course, the NBA Finals last night. What a riveting game that was. Tale of 2 quarters in the second half. It was all Denver in the third quarter, all Miami in the fourth quarter. I'm glad in a weird way that Miami won that game. I want this to be a good series. I want 7 games. I want to have fun with it. I thought if Miami fell down 0-2 to Denver, they were going to be in a big hole and not really make this much of a series, because I do think Denver will win a game on the road. So more on that later. But I did note, Tom, if you think back on Florida State's baseball season, and then I'll move on because I got it. But they got more good news over the weekend. Florida State continues to really work this transfer portal now, and they're rating UCF. UCF is about damn tired of Link Jarrett as they continue to bring in good players. But here's what I thought about. If you think about an historically bad season, you finish 23-31, 9-21 in the ACC. It's a nightmare. But you go back through and you look at who they lost to. If you think about the representation within the 64-team field of baseball regionals, you really realize, look, number 1 seed Wake Forest, FSU went 1-2 against Wake and Tallahassee. We know that. The Deacs have now advanced to the Super Regional. They're going to host Alabama. We went 0-3 against Florida. That game's on right now. Florida's the number 2 national seed. Florida State lost to Clemson. FSU went 1-2 against Clemson. Clemson was upset in their regional, which was won by Tennessee, but again, a 4 seed. Number 7 seed Virginia. FSU went 0-3 against the Cavaliers in Charlottesville. Virginia advanced to the Super Regional. They'll host the winner of Coastal Carolina Duke. Number 9 seed Miami, just outside that top 8. Of course, Miami gets upset by Texas. Good on you, Texas. Great job. We went 0-3 down in Coral Gables to them. Boston College, which is essentially a 17 seed, we went 1-2 against BC at the time. That looked terrible. BC lost to host Alabama, who's now going to take on Wake Forest in the Super. TCU, who we won that series 2-1 against the Horned Frogs in Fort Worth. They can advance to the Super Regional if they get a win over Arkansas. They're still in it. NC State number 3 seed in South Carolina. The Gamecocks are overall number 15 seed. FSU went 0-3 against the Wolfpack. NC State lost to South Carolina, awaiting the winner of Florida, Texas. So 5-19 against teams who made it to the NCAA baseball tournament, and many of them are top 15 seeds. It doesn't change the fact that Florida State was awful this year. It's just worth noting they weren't getting drubbed by scrubs. They were getting beat by the top 15 or 16 national seeds every week. That's what they were doing.
Well, yeah, I documented that in February when they had won a couple of big series early on. Well, one big series against TCU. They beat Jacksonville on the road, and you thought, oh, look at this. Things are so much better. Because from March on, we looked at that schedule and said, oh, my God, like you got to get fat here in February in order to give yourself a chance. Because if you're anywhere close to 6-7 games over 500 at the end of the season with that schedule, you're probably going to get in. Well, February was a disaster from about the latter point to spring break. And from, that point in the schedule, it didn't really matter because we weren't good enough to beat bad teams, let alone these teams that you're just listing. I'm glad the season's dead. I'm glad the roster is flipping as we speak. I'm sure we'll get another golden night, I guess they're the regular nights now at UCF, but we'll get another one in 10 minutes. Good job, Link Jarrett. Make them the South Carolina of your baseball program. It's what Mike Norvell did to the Gamecocks is what he's doing to UCF. Keep it up, man.
Something to note here really quickly before we break, as far as flipping all of that goes and Link's efforts to get this done, and Florida State baseball, the regionals. We got to ask a question in the chat by David. Jeff, why does the NCAA baseball committee load some regionals with great teams, and then look at the Wake regional? It was a joke. This has been a frustration of mine for a long time. I can tell you that for years and years and years, David, post 9/11, post 2001, the NCAA hid behind security travel issues. They basically tried to make it so that nobody had to leave where they're from. In essence, they were worried about security and traveling. Now, that was farcical even back then, but that's what they would say. I know they've also for years and years wanted to create a system that was fairer in their minds, from a host standpoint for schools in the Midwest and not just teams in the South. We all know that the vast majority of elite level baseball in college is played in the South, period. It just is. There are exceptions. There are outliers. But for the most part, the best baseball is played in the South. And it stands to reason. You don't have long swaths of time where you can't be out playing baseball like you do in Illinois. That's a problem. And so they've always tried to cater and try to make it more fair. And in the end of the day, what they end up doing is having these Southern teams stay close to home and play each other. And so if you're the 3 seed, in essence, you end up playing the 13th seed instead of like the 50th or 48th or 37th. Ideally you'd be like 1 versus 64, 2 versus, that's not the way they do it. They don't issue these regionals in a way that seems commiserate to what the national rankings would be.
Yeah, that's correct. They now seed 1 through 16 at least, which is better, but they should seed it all the way through, and it's not going to change. Oddly enough, I have no idea why I was listening to this, but the other day I was listening to College Sports Channel on Sirius XM, and they had the tournament chair, the head of the committee for baseball selection on, and he was discussing why they made some choices that they did. And again, I don't know why I didn't flip the dial the moment that I heard that was coming up, but I heard it. And basically, they want to do away with the RPI. They want to have the net system like basketball because they believe it's been a rousing success in basketball, which I'm like, okay, no. And secondly, they said that they're continuing the narrative about there is a disadvantage to not being in the South. It's not about talent. They think there's a disadvantage because the weather sucks. So therefore, those teams should be, because of the disadvantage they must endure about going on the road, they should be rewarded for the difficult nature of the first 6 weeks of the season. I don't know. It's not going to get better is my point. That's the lesson I took from what they're not changing and evolving. They're staying in their old ways, which is, oh man, it's just so hard to be from the Midwest. It's so hard to be from the Pacific Northwest. it's just too cold early in the season. So we take that into account because those teams are at a disadvantage. And so it's going to continue as it has.
I've always thought this. It's understandable that you would note or weight even road schedules early in the year for teams from the Midwest or Pacific Northwest. If I have to play 18 of my first 22 games on the road down in Florida and Georgia and Alabama and places like that, I'm at a distinct disadvantage. It's true. It's not anybody's fault. It's just where I happen to be from regionally. But you don't then afterwards decide to seed these tournaments in such a way that is a distinct disadvantage for the teams that were of elite status in the South throughout the course of the year. You can weight the difficulty of schedule that an Illinois or a Nebraska or an Indiana or somebody might be playing because they have to start the year on the road for 20 games. But you don't have to then at the end of the year be like, yeah, well, I don't want anybody to travel. And we got to take care of these Big Ten teams. So let's just make sure all the elite teams beat up on each other in this very compact region of the country.
Yeah, you know who's the worst enemy of the ACC and the SEC in that circumstance? Link Jarrett's Notre Dame team from 2 years ago, because it helps them confirm their bias. They say, see, look what Link did with Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's just that's an answer. I wanted to try to hit on that in the chat. Every year we get asked about it most of the time, and I wanted to further flesh that out a little bit. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Has the Jets on full blast, and the prices right now have never been hotter. You can find huge savings at Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, and we mean huge. For a limited time, you can get up to $5,000 off in instant discounts and rebates, plus 60 months no interest financing for qualified buyers. You heard that right, $5,000 in discounts. And that's not all. When you buy a hot spring spa from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you'll get a free consultation to determine the best placement in your yard for installation, a free accessory of your choice, and install can be completed in just a matter of days. It's the most aggressive rebate program that's ever been available to buyers from hot spring spas. So stop by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas on Greer Road today to check out their 12,000 square foot showroom with over 50 hot tubs on site. If you're ready to relax, Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is ready to show you how.
There's no doubt that buying a home can feel overwhelming, especially if it's your first home. You're worried about location, school zones, square footage, inspections, insurance, loan approvals, interest rates, and of course the price. Buying a home could be the most significant investment you've ever made. But there's good news. You have our friends at Legendary Home Loans, and they're on your side and in your corner. They're going to go to bat for you. Shannon Young from Legendary Home Loans can help first-time home buyers get up to $25,000 for your down payment. For first responders, veterans, teachers, military, and healthcare workers, and that's not all, Shannon is an expert navigator of the home loan terrain, and you can trust that he's going to get you the most competitive interest rates and guide you through the process every step of the way. Plus, Shannon will also get your closing costs reduced. It's the Hometown Heroes program at Legendary Home Loans. Give them a call today, 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Or go to FSUHomeLoans.com and ask for Shannon Young.
NMLS number 2270-146.
You worked hard all day and are settled in for a little downtime by relaxing in your hammock located in a nice shady spot in your beautiful North Florida backyard. Then one gets you, then another, and another, and another. Mosquitoes have you sprinting to the back door, and you just pray none get inside as you open it. That's pretty much the story here this time of year. Mosquitoes are ruining our time in our yards. They're pretty much taking over when the sun starts going down. Paul's Termite and Pest Control has an inexpensive solution to this persistent problem. Paul's has a program which treats the grounds, flower beds, shrubs, and standing water. Paul's program controls mosquitoes year-round, which means you can take back control of your yard. Not only are mosquitoes a physical irritation, they also pose potential health risk to people and pets. Enjoy your yard again, mosquito-free. Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control today for your free consultation.
For the elimination of any pest, call Paul. We'll get them all.
Visit Paul's online at callpauls.com. Callpauls.com.
Siri, tell me a joke. The past, present, and future walk into a bar. It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622. Tune in every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. for Great Southern Gospel with Bobby and Nita Key, sharing their voices for nearly 20 years, only on Real Talk 93.3.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout, resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Good to be with you. Hope you're well on a Monday. Should note, again, going back to this a moment ago, I was talking about the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame and Warrick Dunn, Peter Warrick on it. I talked about what Peter Warrick was. Obviously, we know what Warrick Dunn was, but something to talk about here that just blows me away. Peter Warrick, by the way, Tom, you think back to his many records, a two-time consensus All-American for starters. He holds the FSU record with 32 receiving touchdowns, 3,517 career receiving yards. It was the most in ACC history, ranked second on FSU's all-time list, and was also ranked second in program history with 207 receptions, 15 100-yard receiving games, average of 4.81 receptions per game. He is obviously in the FSU Hall of Fame, has been so since 2010, had his jersey retired in 2018. That stood out to me. He was also a member of the ACC's 50th anniversary team in 2002, because of course he was. But remember, you and I were working together, of course, wasn't that long ago at all, that when Peter Warrick's number was retired. It's been 5 years. How's that even possible? How did 5 years go by? I thought it was last year. Like, if you said, when did Peter Warrick's number get retired? I'd be like, was it last year? No, year before. Year before. It was year before. 2018? What?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right to me. It's just that the pandemic has this strange ability to bend time in both directions, to make things feel like that they were yesterday that aren't, and to make something that happened 3 years ago feel like it was 10 years ago. And this is, for me, one of the former. That 5 years feels about right. And I just looked up the ACC career receiving yards leaders, and Peter Warrick is still fourth, despite this new generation of football, despite the new generation and the higher possession count, higher yardage count, the bend rules-wise towards offense, and specifically the passing game. That's how freaking good that guy was, even with a lot of blowouts and not a whole lot of four-quarter work. He's still in the top five with this era of college football ongoing. And again, I posit to you, it's 3,500, 17 career receiving yards. If he's in Mike Norvell's offense for 3 seasons, how many yards does this dude rack up? 5,000?
Yeah, there's so many records that would be broken with a guy of his prodigious talent in this offense. I look at when this came out this morning, we both know Peter Warrick and Warrick Dunn are going into the College Football Hall of Fame. And it's a time of year when you reflect a little bit on what Florida State football is, what it means, where it's going, where it's been. And so in the era of list season, off season, every year we get these nominations, and sometimes it's curious how long people have to wait. Like it made no sense to me that Marvin Jones had to wait all the way to 2022 in order to become the 10th Seminole in the College Football Hall of Fame. We know Charlie Ward is in. We know Derek Brooks is in. Of course, Bobby Bowden is in. He went in way back in 2006. And you think about who else is in there: Fred Blitnikoff, Ron Sellers, Darrell Mudra, Ron Simmons, Deion Sanders, Terrell Buckley, all in the Hall of Fame. But, I bring this up not just because of the announcement today. These two guys are going to get into the Hall of Fame, but because it was something we talked about on Friday, Tom, going back, how fortunate I feel to have started going to games with my dad in the 80s, early 80s, and then being in school in the early 90s, and then thinking about the career covering the program from 98 on. I've watched the emergence of this program basically. I mean, I remember the 79 season. I can remember them losing to Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl and having an undefeated season. That kind of turned out to be an outlier in a weird way. By the way, I have that pennant. I have that Orange Bowl pennant from back in the day. But that said, the superstars of this program basically played before my eyes.
Yeah.
All of them, like most all of them. And I'm now thinking about the flood of former Seminoles that are going to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. If you've never been to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, have you been, Tom? I know your sister lives in Atlanta.
No.
Well, next time you're up there, go. It's fantastic. It is freaking fantastic. And it's something I would encourage everybody to do. But when you go there, you see obviously the history of the game, and you're reminded of great players from every program, whether it's Notre Dame or Alabama or USC, Texas, Oklahoma, whatever it is. And I remember thinking, man, we've got our fair share. Florida State has our fair share, but it's about to be infused with so many players, because if you just think on the 90s alone, we're going to start flooding this thing with Hall of Famers. Now, again, there are certain standards in order to be eligible to make the College Football Hall of Fame. Because if you're at home now thinking to yourself, oh, I'll write down a list of guys I think should be in the Hall of Fame from Florida State that were prolifically great players, that dominated the game, that were all Americans. This list is going to grow to 25, 35, 45 players. Well, players must have received first-team All-American recognition. They have to be 10 years removed from their final college football season, and they have to have already been out of the professional game. It also includes candidates' records as a citizen, they say, and also as an academic. I guess they would look at that too. I don't know. But that is something they say is on the list. So if you're wondering, this gets a little bit like the Baseball Hall of Fame, where sometimes writers become somewhat indignant towards certain players, and they take into account aspects of the players' careers, including things that don't involve baseball at all. I don't think it should be that way, because, listen, again, you got guys like Ty Cobb in the Hall of Fame and others who were horrible people, and yet that gets ignored a lot of times, and with other players it doesn't get ignored. I don't like the idea of somebody arbitrarily, if a guy has not been convicted of a crime, Tom, deciding morally that they don't want, for example, to vote Jameis Winston into the Hall of Fame when his time comes because of the alleged violations in their mind, in their moral code that he committed. That ought not be what it is.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And if the citizenship, the outside of football, is a part of the Hall of Fame selection process, then Warrick Dunn probably should have been amongst the first to get into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is a woefully overdue honor for Warrick Dunn. I like you, because he's ahead of his time, think that Warrick Dunn qualifies as a Hall of Famer in the pro ranks. He's a top 20 player in yards from scrimmage in NFL history.
Yeah.
So I think that's an open and shut case. They clearly don't. But if you're talking about the total package, Warrick Dunn, the number 28 jersey, I remember seeing that everywhere. My cousin Matt owned one, and he lived in New York. Florida State was the biggest damn thing in the country.
Well, correct.
In the early to mid 90s when it came to college football. And 28 and 17 were the two biggest jerseys. Sorry, Danny. But 28 was the jersey that you saw everywhere, and it was Warrick Dunn's number. Again, this is the guy who loved Warrick Dunn as one of his first sporting heroes talking. This guy is overdue to be in there. And I'm not trying to overlook Peter Warrick, but it's just the total package. When you talk about citizen, player, big moments, highlight reels, Warrick Dunn checks all of the boxes better than maybe any Nole in history.
Yeah, there are a lot of boxes to check there. I would note, again, and I have to stop saying that phrase, but I will tell you that a lot of people asking follow-up questions like, will Chris Winkie and others get in the Hall of Fame? Well, Charlie Ward's already in the Hall of Fame. I do believe Chris Winkie will get in the Hall of Fame. Won a national championship, first quarterback of the first ever wire-to-wire football team in the history of college football. It has to stand for something. He also won the Heisman Trophy. It's not like he didn't accomplish above and beyond just a team goal of playing well, ascertaining a bunch of yards and all that. Now, my man threw for a gazillion yards on a prolifically badass team that was the first in college football to ever go wire to wire. He also won the Heisman Trophy. Yes, Chris Weinke will get into the Hall of Fame at some point. Now, he may be way back on the back burner because this list goes on and on and on of players that have been nominated. If you're wondering, by the way, with the ballot and who it includes this year, you've got Michael Vick. You've got a lot of all-time great players, and I took too long.
Yeah.
What?
I said Larry Fitz too, right?
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald as well. Yeah, I took too long to get to this part of it, but I'll look at it in a moment. I'll give you. I mean, listen. I remember Flozell Adams. I remember Eric Bieniemy. I remember Jerome Brown. Everybody does. I can remember Mark Carrier, Kajana Carter, Russell. You can go on and on. There's so many great players on this list. We'll go through some of those guys and talk about who they are. But yeah, man, it is cool. It makes you realize, Tom, sometimes when you're playing Trivial Pursuit with your parents or your friends or whatever, and you realize how many useless things how many useless nuggets of information. I'm really good at Trivial Pursuit. I have a feeling you are too. And my dad is prolifically good at Trivial Pursuit. And they are wars when we sit down to play this game. But I think to myself all the time, why do I know that? Why do I know this? Why do I know that? Why in the world am I aware of that airport? Why do I know this? And I know these. When you go on the list, it's not bragging. It's just funny. It's a eureka moment. It's a light being shined on. You're like, oh, pretty good. When you go through and name everybody on this list, we should play the game and be like, all right, where'd they play? Where'd they play and win? Every now and then there's somebody on the list. You're like, 1962, you got me. I don't remember him at all. I wasn't alive. But for the most part, I mean, as soon as I see the name, I'm like, yep, remember the whole career, remember where he played. Remember the years he played? It's crazy.
Yeah, I would in this case say that you versus Corey is a more fair matchup for you versus Ira because there's still a lot of dudes from the 80s and the early 90s. I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I might remember where they were as a pro in the NFL. Right. I met Mark Carrier. He came to my elementary school when he played for the Bucks. I think he was working in TV too towards the end. But yeah, some of these guys like, nope. Oh, Larry Fitzgerald, you bet your ass, Pitt. There you go. I remember when he got to the Heisman Trophy final ceremony, things like that. So this is where the generation, does kick in a little bit. But there are weird things that I know too. Like, for example, I'll see a pass into center ice, and it's two teams from the West Coast. I'm like, oh, that's P.A. Peugeot. How the hell do I know that's P.A. Peugeot? Who just got the luck, That's just weird. We're all weird that way.
You want to have fun really quick, I'll do this for you, and I won't spend a lot of time on it. I'll come back to it, but I can't believe some of these guys are not in the Hall of Fame already. It's absurd that Jerome Brown out of Miami has not been in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's one of the all-time sack leaders at the university at a time where Miami was synonymous with dominance. But do you remember Rocky Kalmus, linebacker from OU?
No.
You don't?
No.
Well, they won the national championship against our beloved Noles, and he played on that team, and that was unfortunate. But
you could have made that name up as a test, and just to see if I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Rocky Cal. No,
he was a great player. But you're right about Mark Carrier; he was awesome. I got his autograph with the Bucks. But on this list, by the way, it's Tim Couch and Marco Coleman and Ken Dorsey, DJ Dozier. Remember DJ Dozier? No. Running back, Penn State. You're right. This is where our age difference is going to come into play because Dozier played in 91, I think it is, and you were 5. So you're going to have a hard time there, whereas I was out of high school. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
I-10 westbound near mile marker 198 after it crashed into a pickup truck Friday. When it was first reported, the accident involved multiple vehicles, but further
What's up, guys? Our next partner that you're going to hear from is Athletic Greens. You've heard me talk about Athletic Greens in the past. Happy to talk about them again. I take Athletic Greens every day, and I gave them a try because certainly I wanted more energy, sustained energy. I wanted to support my immune system. I don't like taking pills and vitamins per se. And I wanted something that tasted good, too. And the first time I tried it, I was very surprised. It had an appreciable effect on my energy levels. And also, over time, you'll note that it helps your skin, your hair, your nails. I don't have a lot of hair, but if I did, I bet I could feel that. I bet I could tell. It's a comprehensive health habit, and it is a powerful one at that. AG1 is great for recovery. That's Athletic Greens. And I take mine basically when I wake up every morning. I don't have to worry about it because you get all the nutrients that you want. It's the best way to ensure that you're going to get all of your vitamins. It's a carbon neutral business, by the way, if that's important to you. It is to a lot of people, and that's good to know as well. I would also note that it is a comprehensive solution to what you need from a supplement routine. Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs right now with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/JCS. Helps me out, guys, if you use that. Not financially, but it lets them know that you heard this ad on my show. And I do take it, and I am vouching for them because I enjoy their product. It's athleticgreens.com/JCS. Check it out. I think you'll note the difference in your life with a simple drink each and every morning to start your day. athleticgreens.com/JCS.
Crawfordville, Florida.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinking. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Jeff Cameron Show rolling on here. Good Monday, everybody. We've got to be on the lookout for it. I got to do it today right after the show, I might add. The top 40 list will be coming out on warchant.com in the not too distant future. Tom, I think you've done yours already. I think I'm the straggler of the bunch. I don't ever get organized in time to do my top 40 list, but it's a much more fun exercise this year in the off season than it's been in a long time. It started to be fun last year after years of disappointment making this list. And now it's really fun because I have a feeling, and again, I haven't done it yet, but I know you have, you probably ran out of room. And guys, that's saying something. It's not just expectations of a great season. It's like, really? We're having a hard time finding just 40 because there's that many good players? Man, that list was like 7 3 years ago. 7 good players.
Yeah, and we'd argue over guys that we knew weren't, necessarily going to rack up massive yardage totals or tackle totals or be first team all ACC because it's all Florida State had. I mean, you got to rank somebody. It's almost like the Mel Kiper. Somebody's got to go number 1 overall. How about Johnny Manziel? But this list was fun because I had to revise it probably 3 or 4 times where I thought, well, could this role player actually outperform 2 or 3 starters? I don't know. This offense also spreads the ball around. So, I mean, how many receivers do you need to go before the top 20 after you get past Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman? The 3 tight ends. Who's more important between Biscuit and Kyle Morlock? That's a tough one. How many defensive tackles should really be in the top 30 here? Because they could go 6 or 7 deep. Do I need to put 6 or 7? All right, there's only 2 linebackers on this list, and there's only going to definitely be 1 or 2 corners in the top 25. After that, where do I put the rest of these guys? It's kind of a mess there. Rodney Hill. Where do I put Rodney Hill relative to Lawrence Toafili? I mean, all of these things. It was a really fun process. And then with 40, I just took a swing for the downs. I got a guy at 40 that I think is going to be a good player for us as a true freshman. So, and it's not Dre Jacobs because he's way up on that list.
Ryan, you make me laugh often. That's a good one in the chat. No more at 38. Josh Griffiths. You know what I really remember about him? We're not taking shots at him. Was the argument that ensued online when the word came out that he was likely going to be leaving, and his mom got mad at people for saying that because clearly she hadn't heard from her own son what was true, which was that he was leaving, and that the people online were right that he was leaving, and that no matter how much she vehemently defended the fact that he wouldn't be leaving, it was true. It was great. That was like, that kind of summed it up. I was like, great, we're arguing over a player who's not any good at all.
Wow, I don't remember that at all. I think I've done a very good job, apparently, of flushing that stuff so I can remember that P.A. Peugeot plays out in, Minnesota.
Yeah, man, it was something. I remember going, really? This is where we're at, guys? This is where we're at? We're arguing about a guy who's really, the argument ought to be, why is this guy on this team? What are we doing?
Oh, I mean, look, in those lean years, you would put the kicker or the punter up there. Kicker is its own issue, and it'll fire up the chat because people get pissed off about it. But I can't put Mastro in the top 40. He's not going to have enough work. If he does, that's a problem. If Mastromano is one of your top 40 players this year, you have an issue relative to your expectations.
There's zero chance he's going to be in the top 40 for me as well. I think you're right. I don't think he'll have enough work. I would like to put a kicker maybe somewhere in that top 40. A lot of extra points to be kicked. I'd like there to be a standard of success that from 45 yards and in that you could really believe in, because I think we're going to score a lot of points, period. Just points in general on touchdowns, field goals, great field position, big plays. We're going to be in position to score a lot of points often. And I need that guy to be reliable. I understand that maybe in only 2 or 3 games is it really going to make a difference. But I think where it gets lost a lot of times, and hopefully my boy from FSU gets it done. But I think where it gets lost is like early in games where the balance of the game is at hand, where you have an opportunity to put a team in a desperate mode and you miss that kick and you let somebody hang around, or you feel pushed to go for it in a situation where you don't have the leverage and it's 4th and 9 or 8 and you have to go for it because you can't trust that your kicker can make a 42-yarder. I mean, the bottom line is, you get up 2 scores on somebody in the second quarter with this offense, they're in real trouble. You let them hang around, and next thing you know, it all comes back to you. The pressure begins to mount. You're the favorite team, all because you couldn't make a couple chip shot field goals that would have made it 16-0 instead of 10-0. It's just like, or 13 to, you know what I mean? So like these kinds of things frustrate me to no end.
Yeah, I agree. Look, the NC State game was lost because of a lack of a kicker. And the reason you go for it in a situation that Johnny Wilson drops what would have been a touchdown probably on a 4th down is because you don't trust the kicker. And people look at that game and they say, well, after the trick punt return, which was awesome, gets totally forgotten because we lost the football game, Fitz made the kick before half. Yes, because we had to kick in that situation. And the game wasn't in the balance at that point. We were ahead. There's no pressure. But the reason you come away with 0 points in a drive that could have been the difference in the game early on is because you couldn't trust him to make a 30-some-odd yard field goal. So we don't need to be in that situation again. I hope we're not this year because it's a razor's edge of a margin. If you want to win a conference title, if you want to win more than that and play in the college football playoff, you've got to be better and you've got to have a baseline of 40 yards. I mean, come on, it's 40 yards. But spoiler alert, my top 40 does not have a kicker. Nope, I don't trust it. Don't trust it.
Well, and I make jokes about this a lot because of my affinity for my former place of my former place of living is the best way to say it. ETSU. I want the kid from ETSU to win the job. By the way, he's a Tallahassee kid who happened to go away to East Tennessee State, so we're rooting for a Tallahassee kid here. But I have nothing against Fitzgerald if he could somehow win it. In fact, it'd be a good story. I mean, I don't really care who kicks for us, frankly, as long as they kick well. And we were so spoiled for so long. We really did have a run there of kicking greatness, not just good, solid, above average. No, elite level, all-time great. Can you believe this guy kicks for us kind of good? And so it doesn't take long for me to get frustrated with missed kicks because we were in the wake of making everything all the time.
Yeah, if I didn't see any of spring camp, I wouldn't if I'm just a fan who watches the games, I wouldn't be worried about the kicking situation because Fitz had a nice rebound to the end of the season. He hurt himself in the UF game, was able to play through that injury, make a couple of kicks for us, most of them extra points. But that was its own issue, and yet he gutted it out. And then in the bowl game, all right, he looks solid. But then you actually get to watch the practices in the spring, and it's not a dead issue.
No, it sucks. It's often really hit and miss. There's no consistency from any of those guys. Not even my FSU guys. It's just been a bit of a cluster. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. And the problem with it too, I get asked this a lot when I'm out and about. Like we talk about sizing up the team. You and I have a mutual friend at the golf course we play at, Capital City Country Club. And, the first question we often get asked is, what do you think? I know we're going to be good here. We're going to be good there. But then the places people go, kicking and secondary and linebacker. Those are the three places. That's all anybody goes. And whenever the kicking comes up, I'd love to be able to give them a great answer, but I never can. And then as soon as I say, well, they go, all right. And here's the problem. Those guys have good weeks and bad weeks. There's a week where they make everything. And you're like, okay, all right. Kids made everything this week at spring football practice, feeling good. And the next time you go out there, they're not even at 50% for the week.
So in the and it's not even close. These aren't like misses. They're like, oh, good. I mean, he really thumped that one. It just, happened not to go in. They're like shanks. You're like, oh God, this is like they could return this if they put a returner out there. It's from 37. The opponents could have just guys stand in the end zone all season long because you never know. It might just be kicked right at you. Gene, in the last 30 seconds, Gene's threshold here for the top 40. Players you believe will have the opportunity and capability to make the biggest impact this season. Not about NFL talent or whatever.
Oh, of course.
With that said, is Fabian Lovett your number one defensive tackle?
No.
I figured that would be the answer.
No.
It's Daryl Jackson?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think based on ability, based on what I saw from talent, size, and ability, he ought to be the best defensive tackle we have. Don't know if he will be. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
Long is an acceptable time to have to wait.
I can't hear any of that.
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we're hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
A bed of Zaxby's crinkle fries, hand-breaded chicken, hardwood smoked bacon, and buttermilk ranch. It's the perfect comfort food. Pillows sold separately. Chicken bacon ranch loaded fries. Woo, saucy!
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
It's all too obvious. We're being let down by the institutions we used to trust. American families are talking about a future of food shortages, banks failing, society breaking down, and what seems like the setup for the apocalypse. But instead of throwing up their hands, folks are leaning into self-reliance, investing in emergency food storage now more than ever. And My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, has made it easier than ever for you to have peace of mind knowing you're prepared. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and stock up on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit. You get tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save $200 plus get free shipping on 3-month emergency food kits at mypatriotsupply.com. It's time to prepare for what we all know is coming. Go to mypatriotsupply.com now. mypatriotsupply.com.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. Juice Reel, the betting intelligence tool that's making better bettors. Open the App Store and get your hands on Juice Reel. Start betting smarter. Juice, R-E-E-L. Juice Reel. Now, here are the latest lines from my guys in the desert.
The Nuggets are up 1-0 on the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals after a win yesterday, Game 2 on Sunday. The Nuggets have opened up as a 9-point favorite. Overall, the Nuggets are now minus 800 to win the series. The Heat at plus 550. The Stanley Cup Final, it is getting underway tomorrow between the Vegas Golden Knights and Florida Panthers. Vegas is a minus 130 favorite for game number 1 tomorrow. Overall, Vegas is a minus 125 favorite to win the series.
For the latest odds all the time, visit vsin.com. I'm Matt Pauley. This has been your Action Update on Tallahassee's Real Talk station, Real Talk 93.3.
Hey, this is your stomach speaking. It's time to eat again. We met deadlines and closed out the workday like a boss. The last thing you want to do is cook dinner. Even worse, pick up any fast food garbage. We need something good, something local. We need foodiestakeout.com. An all-star lineup of local spots like Smitty's Tap House, El Jalisco, Terry's Cafe, Hangar 38, Metro Deli, and more. It's so easy. Just choose pickup or delivery, and let's eat the good stuff. I'm growling already. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live.
My first call up ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews.
At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
As a truck driver, I've learned how important road safety is. I know that large trucks need more time and room to stop. That's why I always hang back and follow other vehicles at a safe distance. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. So next time you're driving, try to remember to always give trucks extra space when you merge in front of them. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Appreciate you being here. As always, good Monday, everybody. We're still live, even though we are live from the house today. But nonetheless, moving swimmingly. Unfortunately, an update sees Florida leading big over Texas Tech. And you guys are keeping me updated on. It's funny how hated, Tom, Oklahoma has become in softball. It doesn't take long for a program to dominate and then to have an annoying coach to get hated.
Yes, it takes about 5 seconds of one interview. As I found out a couple of years ago when we used to run these games, the Westwood One affiliate, and within 2 seconds of the pregame interview, because I was running the board, I said, no, this is just not going to work. Oh, man. So it's 2-2, runners on first and second with 2 out. A nice play by the shortstop to flag down a weak line drive that could have scored the lead run for Stanford. Bottom 6, Stanford's the home team in the game, 2-2. So looking for some 2-out magic.
A reminder that tonight Florida State takes on Tennessee. Tennessee 51-9 on the year. Florida State 57-9. 7 o'clock, ESPN. Fun times. We'll be watching just after dinner. And big if, let's hope it doesn't happen, if Florida State were to fall, game 2 tonight around 9:30-ish. So it will be a late night if Florida State falls. It has to play a second game. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's just take care of business, buddy. It's going to be hard enough to probably have to beat Oklahoma anyhow. So at this point, we don't want extra games weighing on our nerves.
So the one thing that happened with Tennessee and Oklahoma in the winners bracket was that Tennessee went with their third starter against Oklahoma. They've got 2 aces. They went with their third starter because, according to the head coach, velocity is what trips up the Sooners more than anything else. So they had somebody who could throw 75, which is absurd in softball. They get down 3-0 because that's what Oklahoma does. And Tennessee's head coach did not replace the pitcher with one of the aces. They conceded and said, we'll just have to do this from the losers bracket side. Very interesting strategy when even if you were to make it out after losing to Oklahoma in that game, you'd probably have to play him again. You may as well take your best shot when you have him on the field at the same time, but that's what Tennessee decided.
Well, maybe not at 3-0. At 3-0, they're like, we ain't coming back. We're not coming back in this game. I'm going to take my ass kicking and roll my next 2 best players out there in this game against Florida State and hope to steal it.
The one thing I will say about Oklahoma is their team culture is apparently showboating as though they've never won a thing ever in their life. They are very interesting with the post-play stuff. It's Francisco Rodriguez like everywhere on the diamond.
It's okay. Do you remember, obviously, the promo that we had at ESPN based on my assertion that I got tired of watching women congratulate other women after striking out looking with 2 runners on and nobody out? That was very commonplace. That's okay. That's all right. That's how the promo began. And it's true that did exist for a very long time. Now, the game has continued to rise up and become far more entertaining and athletic than it used to be. So there's less of that, but there has not been any slight on the amount of fun the women have on the bases, in between the lines, in the dugout, after they score, before they score, after an at-bat, before an at-bat, before a pitch. Hell, we do it just wandering around the infield for hours on end after a strikeout or a pitch. It's annoying. I wish it would stop. It kind of sucks.
I think it looks a little different from this Oklahoma team, though. I mean, it's a base hit that scores the first run of the game, and it looks like Shooter McGavin when he makes the final putt, and Happy Gilmore just walking around, going crazy, jumping up and down.
Right.
Florida State is a little more together. It's more about, I think it's more about the collective. They're always pointing at each other and saying, "You did it. No, you did it. Get out of here. You did it."
It's all a bit much. It's all a bit much. Let's just move it along. I don't disagree with you. It's an out. You got an out.
Yeah.
Let's get the next one.
Right.
I also think, by the way, just so people don't think I'm being completely sexist here, I find it annoying no matter who's doing it, men or women. I find it not the old man kind of way. Like when people score touchdowns, I got no problem celebrating. It's hard to score touchdowns. You got to work hard. And oftentimes take a lot of abuse to score a touchdown. You score, spike it, talk about it, have some fun with it. That's all right. You don't have to do it after a first down.
Yeah.
After a touchdown, that's fine. Also, I don't mind the fun that they have in Major League Baseball coming off the field in the dugout where they'll do the silly things like the Pirates now when they win or hit a home run, they'll pull out the sword, they're swashbuckling. It's pretty cool. It makes me laugh. By the way, the Pirates swept the St. Louis Cardinals over the weekend, and they can suck it.
There you go. If you had first hour as the over-under, you lost. It took a little longer than I would have thought. It was plus 150 on outside of the first hour for that mention. But
no, that's okay. Just a little sweepage there for St. Louis while they go ahead and wallow in dead-ass last in the division while the Pirates sit in first. It's okay. It's okay. Just let you know. It was a beautiful moment this weekend. I think all of baseball probably teared up a little bit and cheered the Pirates taking out the Cardinals. As we all know, what a horrid and angry and silly organization the Cardinals are with that fan base. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Anyhow, back to my point here about the celebrating. I get equally annoyed at college and pro basketball players who brick a free throw and then immediately slap five with everybody in the lane and the guy behind him. No, man. No, there's no reward for you throwing up a brick from the free throw line. I need you to make that free throw. And you don't get congratulations for back ironing that thing, man. Let's go. Yeah. Get up there and concentrate. Clearly, you need to concentrate more. You don't need to worry about slapping my hand. You need to get a little bit more focused on release, rotation, splash, okay?
You've got the dexterity to hit 47% against a 6'10" closeout, but we're hitting 72% from the free throw line, and supposedly that's good.
They do it. Like you'll notice, like in college and pro, they miss a free throw, and then it's kind of like slapping. I'm like, no, man, I'm not slapping you five. I get in trouble. People be mad about me. Don't do it. Yeah. And no, you can't bat flip for walks. A walk is nice.
Yeah, correct. This reminds me, remember the Brewers from about 5-6 years ago? Everybody on that team.
That was almost a more hateable team for me than the Cardinals, which is saying something.
Yeah. Oklahoma got out of the inning, and now they've got a leadoff double. And yes, the celebration is raging for 6 seconds at second base for the leadoff double.
Just, guys, save yourself the trouble of daring to dream that Oklahoma is going to lose this game. They're not. They're not going to lose this game. They're going to win this game. Stop caring. Stop investing. OU will win this game. This is what they do.
Yeah. And they're going to look surprised I can't believe we're doing this. Oh,
well, and also, Tom, don't forget the world was against them.
Well, what they're trying to do is prove to Patty, if they're worthy to be an Oklahoma Sooner, much like Coach K on his deathbed.
Can't wear the Duke uniform.
Get out of my sight. Take off the jerseys. No. Go to Champ Sports and go get some blank jerseys. You don't deserve to wear the Duke crest.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, no, it's funny. I don't know when it happened years ago while we're talking about annoying things athletes do. But somehow this idea that everybody is against you no matter who you are is also one of the worst trends in sports, men or women, pro or college. Stop it. Kirby Smart out here trying to tell people how they just wanted to prove to everybody that they were great, that they were – man, stop. Nobody ever thought you weren't awesome. We all saw Georgia play this year. Nobody doubted they were awesome. Go to hell with that nonsense. Stop doing that. All people who do that. Post-game quarterbacks, linebackers, coaches, shut up. Nobody's sitting around doubting you. It's also true that, you've heard the phrase, right? People who worry about what other people think of them should consider that nobody's thinking of them, because that's true. Nobody's thinking about you. They're not thinking about me. They're not thinking about anybody but themselves. We all got a gazillion problems we got to deal with on an hourly basis. Ain't nobody worried what Tom Lang's doing on a Monday afternoon at his house. He's just going about his business just like I'm going about my business.
I'm just rolling over to one of 5 Tallahassee area Zaxby's locations, going to get some food. That's if you ever want to know what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing right there. That's the kind of fun and games I have.
Anytime is the right time, Tom Lang, for a Zaxby's platter. As long as you're hungry, buddy. Feed your team with your choice of traditional or buffalo fingers or boneless or traditional wings. Either one. That's what Tom's doing. If you're having trouble deciding, get the best of both worlds with a sampler platter. That's probably the best bet. But you decide. You go and figure it out. Don't forget that world-famous sauce. Satisfy your chicken craving with Zaxby's platters. Your Tallahassee Zaxby's, a proud Golden Chief booster for over 18 years. And go Noles.
There it is.
Yeah, so that's what it is. That's what it is. Nobody was thinking that you couldn't win. Nobody was really worried about you, whether or not you were getting enough credit or not enough credit or too little credit or whatever the kind of credit you think you're owed. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just go win. Use something else as motivation.
It's actually very political in nature. Create this other thing that doesn't exist as the boogeyman, and then beat the boogeyman. So
right.
Now you've done something.
Yeah. Gino, and by the way, Live Spectator, you did a good job there. More like smarmy Gino and UConn women's hoops. It's true. They've done it before. I remember back in the day when UConn and Tennessee played every day. It was the only 2 teams playing women's college basketball. Everybody else was like a club team, as I call them. And then they would meet each other in the Final Four or whatever after thoroughly vanquishing the rest of the NCAA tournament by a combined 790 points. And they would get in there like, well, this is an opportunity to prove to all the doubters wrong. Doubters? You're the only 2 teams that play competitive women's basketball.
You don't realize how hard it is to win a championship. Well, yeah, I'm sure it is. For any team not named UConn, Tennessee, or South Carolina, or Notre Dame of late, or LSU of late, I'm sure it's very difficult. Now, I would like us to be in the position that Oklahoma is.
Oh,
every year we are sitting as they are and saying, this isn't good enough. This is not up to standard. But Oklahoma's decided to be great at softball, and my God, are they.
Oh, they're awesome at it. And when you recruit the best class in all of softball year in and year out, and you stockpile those classes, it is a stunning result if you do not win. That's all anybody sitting around watching is like, well, will they lose? Because it's going to be hard to lose with all of the best players. I mean, it's true. When you watch some of these teams, you're like, come on, man. I have tried this question a couple of times. Maybe adding some bones to it will help. Oh, no, I didn't mean – you don't ever have to do that. I want to hear your guys' thoughts of the XFL rule changes and what you would like to see in NCAA football. I like the onside kick change. I do too, William, and I'm sorry I didn't notice your question. I wasn't waiting for you to give us money. I appreciate that you did, and thank you. Tom just flashed it up on the screen here, and I realized that I had somehow overlooked it. I don't always pay attention to the chat while I'm conducting the show. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. That's true. I don't always look at it because I don't want to get distracted. And I don't want it, that to kind of dictate terms. I do look at it a little bit more than I do in the fall. So in the summer months, you have a better chance of getting your question answered. It is a slower time, admittedly, and we don't try to pretend otherwise. So yeah, I would happily answer your question. So you bring up a larger point that is fun to talk about. I don't care anything about the XFL. I don't care anything about the USFL. I don't care anything about non-NFL or non-college football. All the other leagues put together, Arena Football, the American Football League, the XFL, the USFL, all these leagues that have come out have all been largely failures, save for the first USFL that Donald Trump ruined. Now, outside of that, none of these leagues have been all that interesting to me, and none of these leagues have been all that interesting to a lot of people because they fold pretty quickly due to a lack of participation, mainly with dollars and tickets sold. But what every one of these leagues have done and done a real good job of is tried to be innovative regarding certain rules, certain aspects of the game that could be improved upon. For example, the two-point conversion. For example, certain aspects of overtime rules that have been later on enveloped by both college and pro football. Yes, the special team stuff that they have done now is really good. I really like what they've done with kickoffs in the XFL, or was it the USFL? I don't know. One of those two leagues.
Yeah, it's the XFL. It's the 35-30.
Yes, that is fantastic because it allows you to incorporate an aspect of the game that we all thoroughly enjoyed, but also realize is very, very dangerous and where the vast majority of catastrophic injuries in the game occur, like broken necks, like severe concussions, like compound fractures. So what do we do to avoid that? Well, we don't split them apart by 40 yards and tell them to charge into one another as fast as they can. Instead, we shrink that distance, but we still allow the athleticism and talent and strategy that is used from a kick returner to make an impact on the game. And I like that. And so, yes, to answer your question, William, I do think it's a great idea to look at those rules that these breakaway leagues start and utilize, because sometimes they're very effective and sometimes they're more interesting than what is the status quo.
Yeah, here's the thing I'd say. So that rule for onside kick in the XFL is 15 yards. You could choose basically a 4th and 15 play instead. Yep. And that's in the fourth quarter and on. I think 15 is way too generous, especially in college. I think 4th and 15 can be picked up far more often than an onside kick if you're just looking at probability.
I agree, and it does, yes.
It's got to be 4th and 20, 4th and 25. It's got to be a real long shot, because otherwise you would just choose that all day. And they might.
I think most teams would. I think most teams would choose this all day. I don't know, man. I think 4th and 20 is probably easier to pick up than getting an onside kick. I think 4th and 25 might be easier than picking up an onside kick. The percentage of onside kicks that are executed properly and win possession is very slim. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what those numbers bear out.
I feel like, and this is just going solely on memory, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it's somewhere between 3 and 5% that is successful. An onside kick, it's 3 in 100 or 5 out of 100. So you could find the yardage that would match that in terms of fourth down and distance for college. In the pros, I think 15 to 20 is probably fair, but just the way the college game is, the way it's spread out, and some of the things you can do with the offensive line. I get that you're not going to run the ball in that situation, but it's just, I think there's a lot more leeway that you have with the collegiate rules. Also, relative skill sets in college, there's more disparity that I think you probably need to be a larger amount. Outside of that, in the XFL, though, I don't know. They don't do anything spectacular. Like, they have a rule with punting that if you touch back and a punt, it comes out to the 35. That's dumb. But I'm glad you're right. For the experimentation purposes, I'm glad these leagues try these things out. The onside kick rule is about it. I'd maybe touch overtime and move it back to the 40 or something like that in college, but that's not what the XFL does. I just think the 25 is kind of dumb. It's too close.
Too close. Rules and replay are great in the XFL, writes Ron, my man. And yes, Tom, it should be 4th and 25. After working the whole season, I saw more teams get it than miss it. 4th and 15 is very achievable, especially in a league that is hell-bent on promoting offense. So the rules are in favor of the offense over the defense. The talent, especially in the XFL, is not nearly as elite as it is in the NFL. So your chances of seeing a bust or having a play made by somebody on the offense with the rules bent in their favor and a quarterback who can hardly be touched, yes, I would say that's true. You got to move it back further. I like that option, though. I will tell you, I wish the NFL would adopt something like that, a 4th and 22, a 4th and 19, a 4th and whatever it might be, where you could choose it. I think it'd be cool. I'd be fine with that. And, I listen, there have been, I'm forgetting some of them, but there have been a bevy of rules that have been adopted from these other leagues. There's no doubt that they've served the purpose in that way. They really have.
Yeah, every time we talk about college football in any facet these days, all I think about is seeing the Florida State helmet and the LSU helmet on the same field in Orlando. It's such a strange place to be that on June 5th, I've got the College World Series on here in my double monitor, so I've got that just to see what's happening with Stanford and Oklahoma, and it looks like it's going to be tied into the bottom of the 7th because Stanford got out of it. But all I can think about, anytime the sports come up, college football, pro football, is what are we going to look like that night? What are we going to look like in week 4 against Clemson? You can't shake it. The Warchant Top 40 has me thinking about it. I haven't been this excited. Last year's game was cool. Couldn't wait to go to New Orleans, but I thought of it more as an event than I did the way I would think about a game that opened up against Alabama in Atlanta 6 years ago, or the way that we opened up against Pitt with Jameis Winston making his first start on the road. This game has this gravitational pull that of every 10 sports thoughts I have these days, maybe 4 of them are about this game specifically and how it's going to play out in Orlando.
Of all of the openers, we got to take a break and I can think on it a little bit more. Of all of Florida State's openers, I'm trying to think of the one that captured my imagination more than this one. It's been a long time. That Alabama game, everybody had a lot of excitement around. But if you remember, Tom, I didn't like that game. I didn't want to play that game. I angered the fan base when I said we ought not be playing that game. And I actually thought we'd get blown out in that game. Now, we didn't.
Yeah.
And had DeAndre Francois not gotten hurt, maybe we would have upset Alabama, a bit of a mild upset that year, perhaps. But the bottom line was I didn't like anything about that game because I didn't like our chances. This is very different. This feels very, very different for us currently. I also was one of the first people on the Jimbo has lost control of the program. We're fading into the abyss before most people recognized it. I'm going to give myself that credit.
Yeah, no, that's correct. 2016, you were already on that train.
Yeah.
Before the Louisville game happened, you said something's wrong.
Oh, I could tell it was something was wrong, and I thought we'd get killed by Louisville, and I said that to you on the air, yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't say Jimbo should be fired in 2016, but you're like, I don't, something's up, man. I don't like this. There's a squeakiness in the machine, and I don't know where it's coming from. But that's the thing about the Alabama game the next year, and that injury was it kind of expedited the process that we needed to go through because it had the rot had already set in the program. It was already too late, but it helped push Jimbo out the door. He stopped recruiting probably about 5 seconds after that game was over, and Kevin Sumlin blew it against UCLA. I think it was that same weekend, or was it the next weekend?
It was that massive comeback, I remember that? That was crazy, and I remember we all realized in the moment, well, the door is open.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we had to go through an entire signing class of hell, meaning like if you're a freshman at Florida State in 2017 or 2018, you never saw a damn bit of anything on the football field, and you are now in your professional life, and that sucks for you. And that was a long time, but we needed to go through that. We could have chosen better with the first head coach, but we needed to go through that process, and it feels like this kickoff is the bookend. It is the back cover of that book. That started with the page opening for Alabama. It just feels like you have now made it to the other side, and that's, I think, probably why I'm so excited to go attend this game.
This game, if you can win it in back-to-back years, we know what LSU has done in terms of recruiting. We know of their recent successes. We understand that Brian Kelly is a good football coach, and he's had the year to get adjusted. He won the West, played in the SEC title game. This would be an amazing accomplishment for Florida State to resoundingly announce their return with authority. If you win that game back-to-back years, you can't fluke your way into beating a team with that much talent. You have to have something of merit going on with your own program in terms of the depth of talent and where you're at. And I think each day is another chance to add to that reality. I think there are a lot of people still saying prove it out there, and this game could do exactly that. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
This is Tyler from Bear No Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere.
Save big time in the new year and get $1,200 off select new units.
Online at BearNoAC.com. License CAC 1816-186.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com.
For about 50 years, Paul's Termite and Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses for thousands of people right here in the Big Bend, and we're quite proud of that. Fact is, all of us here at Paul's have families, and nothing is more important to us than their protection. By providing effective termite and pest treatments, we know we're aiding many right here in our community.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control performs many services designed for the protection of your family and your home. Programs like Pro Shield Complete, which encompasses termite and general pest control in one low-cost quarterly treatment plan. This program is environmentally friendly and is almost exclusively limited to exterior treatments, meaning pests and termites never enter your home. Termite programs like Centricon, a service which requires no invasive drilling or liquid applications. Plus, our lawn care team keeps lawns and ornamentals green and healthy.
Protection of your family, your home, and our environment all are very important to each of us at Paul's. To learn more about our many programs, please visit us at callpauls.com.
For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-452-5050. That's 1-800-452-5050.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Good thing. We will welcome in mere moments my good friend Ira Schafel, and we will talk all things Florida State. By the way, speaking of which, the Monday Smash is tonight at a special time. I think it's 6 o'clock, in fact. All right, let's do it right now. Let's welcome him in. Ira Schafel, Warchant.com. Hello, Ira. How are you, brother?
I'm great, Jeff. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Are you watching the TV at the exact same time that we're talking right now to see if Oklahoma gets upset by Stanford?
I am not. I actually got an update a little while ago, but I don't have it on right in front of me. Do you have it on in front of you?
I don't have it on in front of me. I'm about to get yelled at. I should probably do that, but I didn't want to get distracted. And I know that it's 2-2 and they're in the bottom of the 7th. And I'm thinking to myself, could this happen? Could this be a real thing? I know how popular Oklahoma softball is with everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised Stanford scored, to be honest with you, just watching these teams. They've got some really good pitching and defense, but not much offense. Obviously, Florida State, you'd love to see Stanford as opposed to Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's awesome. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they get there. And then even Florida State's going to have a tough time getting through, honestly, the semifinals. Tennessee is very good, and so that'll be a tough test too.
Tennessee tonight at 7 o'clock. Reminder to everybody, that game is on ESPN. If for some reason Florida State were to lose, they'd play again at 9:30 tonight or thereabouts. So obviously hoping that we don't have to stay up too late on the edge of our seat. That's not good. That's not conducive to sleeping well, Ira. Can't have all that. It was a lot of fun over the weekend, though, with the Washington game. And, Florida State has found ways to make all of this become all the more popular. You noted it the last time you were on the show when we were talking about when you were over there covering just how much fun this softball team is and how it's been embraced. And when they win like this and they win in dramatic fashion, they become all the more lovable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun product. I mean, I think look, it's been cool to see the respect that they've gotten now from TV. I think yesterday and over the weekend, some of the games that were on ABC, they weren't on, ESPN2 or whatever, while you've got baseball regionals happening. And obviously the softball's at the World Series, so they're further along, but it's cool that, they're getting the respect of being on network television. And a lot of these baseball regionals are on ESPN or all the different affiliates in the network. So it's cool. I think fans are embracing the sport. Florida State plays a real fun fun brand of softball, and that dramatic win the other night with Josie Muffley jumping out of the stadium to make that catch. It's been cool, man. It's been a really cool experience. You don't want to see it end, so you'd like to see them get as far as they can get.
I jumped as high as she did off of my couch when she made that catch. The whole family did. It was like a whole family thing in the Cameron household watching the end of that game, man.
Off the bat, you're thinking, oh no. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you did when the ball gets hit, I don't know if anybody's thinking, oh yeah, Muffley's going to have a play on that.
Yeah. Well, I yelled double play. That's how good I am.
There you go.
I yelled double play. As soon as it hit the bat, I went double them up.
Right.
I'm kidding.
Sure.
I didn't yell that, but I was really, really pleased that it happened. That said, I do want to ask you quickly, what year was it that you broke into being a professional journalist and covering Florida and the rest of college football?
Wow. As a student, it was 1991.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought it was, Ira, because I've known you long enough. And I'm just thinking today, Tom and I gave reflections on, I thought if you were to name two Florida State former players, not name Deion Sanders, if you had to say to yourself, okay, how many names would you name before you name these two for the College Football Hall of Fame from the list of great players at Florida State? You wouldn't name but one or two, like Charlie Ward, Deion, and boom, Warwick Dunn. Maybe Charlie Ward, Deion, Derek Brooks, in no particular order, right? Before you said Warwick Dunn or Peter Warwick. It doesn't take long.
Yeah, it's one of those where when I knew when the ballot came out this morning and I saw those two names on it, I knew the first response from everybody was like, what do you mean they're not in the Hall of Fame?
How are they not in the Hall of Fame already? Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I don't know what the solution is for the College Football Hall of Fame, because on the one hand, you want it to be selective, right? You don't, I think the thing that everybody loves about the Baseball Hall of Fame is it is very selective. But on the other side, there have been so many incredible, look at the other people on the list of this ballot. There's just Derek Thomas. It's just one dude after another, that are all like incredible players, and none of them are in the Hall of Fame either. It's I don't know what they can do to kind of expedite the process and get some of these guys in the Hall of Fame.
Otherwise, people are going to be dead and never find out that they made it into the Hall of Fame, man. I think it's stupid. Listen, you have so many more teams in college football, right. Ira. Think about how many teams play. It's crazy. You should lump in 50 in a given year till we get caught up that make it in. I'm not trying to water it down either, but here you go, to your point, okay? So we're talking about people that were consensus All-Americans, most of the time multi-time consensus All-Americans. They were first-team All-American by all recognized publications in some cases. That makes them unanimous All-Americans. So here you go. You ready? I'm going to start saying names. I did this with Tom earlier, and as you well know, Ira, Tom is considerably younger than us, unfortunately.
Yes.
So Tom was born in 1986, all right? The only time, because he's an old soul, and he had all older siblings, and he views the world like an old man. I love that about him. Now, here you go, okay? When we talk a lot of times, the 15-year age gap that we have, or whatever it is usually, it's negligible. You can barely tell. But when I start talking about sporting events that occurred in 89, 90, 91, 92, he's got no idea.
It's a little dicey.
Little dicey.
Especially probably college. I bet baseball he probably knows.
Yeah, he'll know the history and certain names, certainly, especially if they were Mets, because the Mets won in 86. But here you go. I'm going to do this for all of us out here. I love every year it's at this time that they announce the candidacy of these other players or the ballot. And I realize how old I am now, because I can keep going back further and further and further and be like, I saw him play, remember him. Watch this, Ira. I'm just going to name 10 at a time, and I know you're capable of saying, yeah, I saw every one of those guys play. You ready? Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Flozell Adams, Michigan State.
For
Yes?
sure. Yeah, for sure.
1997 first team All-American, big team offensive lineman of the year. You remember Monty Ball, the running back out of Wisconsin?
Yes, yes.
Okay. You remember Eric Bieniemy at Colorado?
Of course.
You remember Justin Blackman, the wide receiver at Oklahoma State?
I do. You know, the other thing, real quick to interrupt you, but like somebody pointed out this to me this morning, if you win the Heisman Trophy, you're not just like immediately in.
Right? Right?
That's just crazy. Well, we're gonna take a ballot to see whether or not a Heisman Trophy winner belongs in the College Football Hall of Fame.
The first name on the list when the ballot came out today that I did not know was, and maybe you do, was Larry Burton. You know who Larry Burton is?
No, I don't.
Yeah, he was a quote unquote split end. That's how you know you got no shot. My man was a split end.
Split end in the 60s or 70s at Purdue?
Early 70s. He was a split end. But yeah.
That's brings me back to my old days and my football trading cards, and you'd have some split ends back then.
You're like, who the hell? What is a split end, everybody? What are we doing? Yeah. So Rocky Kalmus, we remember OU, unfortunately. You remember Mark Carrier, Kajana Carter, Russell Carter, Matt Cavanaugh, maybe not Matt Cavanaugh, Dallas Clark, obviously, Marco Coleman back when Georgia Tech was good. Probably the last time Georgia Tech was good.
I think he might have was he on the team that won it all?
Yes, he was on the team when they won it all. Tim Couch, Brad Culpepper.
Brad Culpepper, Tallahassee's own. I've said it before. He was the first college football player I ever interviewed when he was at Florida. In 1991.
How'd that interview go?
He didn't have a lot to say, but they had won. They had won at LSU, and I went and covered that game. So he was really good.
I was here to introduce Brad Culpepper at the Tallahassee Quarterback Club after he had been on one of those stupid shows like Survivor or whatever it was. Like, I think he won like Survivor or something like that.
I believe it.
He was very proud.
And real quick, so think about that, though. Like, they're not going to put two FSU guys in. The most you're going to get in is one. So if one of these guys goes in, Peter Warwick or Warwick Dunn gets in, and say a guy like Brad Culpepper gets in, that means one of them is not, and Brad Culpepper is going to get in, or there's a bunch of other guys on that list. I'm not saying that Dunn or Warwick are that much better than all those guys, but it's going to be annoying. It's going to be probably 2 more years before one of these other guys gets in.
Yeah, I don't think they should do it that way. By the way, just for fun, and because I know you'll remember the name, but you probably have not thought of him since he last played. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Vaughn Dunbar.
Man, I barely remember that name.
You remember Vaughn Dunbar, running back at Indiana, buddy,
Dude,
in 1991.
I'm not trying to watch Big Ten football in 1991, Jeff Cameron.
Vaughn Dunbar was good.
I believe you, but man, I probably erased it from my memory. What all did he do in the NFL?
Vaughn, didn't do as much. Didn't have as big a career. Hey, so I'm old in this way. You remember Willie Gault?
Of course.
Well, that was 82 at Tennessee, by the way. Why is he still waiting to get in?
Yeah.
1982, my man played at Tennessee. What are we doing? We remember him with the Bears forever, but come on, that's crazy. What specifically are the rules here?
It is. It's the most maddening thing, and I think you're 100% right. I've never thought about the fact that there's just too many teams. I mean, it's almost like they should have wings, like have a conference wings or something.
Yes.
And you can be selective, but it's ridiculous if you got 100 college football teams, because even in those years, think about the guys that on even average teams, like whoever, Quentin Coriat or whoever. I mean, those guys
nice
are
great. Quentin Coriat.
I'm not sure where that came. Just he was a bust draft choice from the Indianapolis Colts when I like the Colts. But even some average teams or teams that didn't win national titles had incredible players that should be in, but are going to have to wait 30 years. I mean, it's just it is a dumb process.
I remember Kevin Hardy at Illinois, linebacker. See, you remember him.
Pass rusher.
He was a stud. But, I mean, he's still waiting. That was like freaking ages ago. What are we doing? Some of these dudes will be dead. Most of them are dead. And when you think about CTE, you want them to remember that they played well at some point before they get in. Come on, guys.
I don't know that needs to be one of the reasons. Guys. None of these guys are going to remember this if we don't get them in now.
There's anonymous calls. They're like, listen, I happen to live next door to so-and-so. He's drooling on himself these days. Can you get this guy in the hall? My man literally shuffles down the street at night. We have to bring him back home.
Well, then that's going to work against P-Dub and Warwick Dunn because they're in good shape. They're
in great shape.
They're in great shape. They look like they could play today. So
every time
that
I
would
see
hurt
Peter Warwick, I'm like, man, that's awesome. He still looks great. Got that big old white beard.
He does have the beard.
He's got the big white beard. It's the only thing that makes him look old because he's still ripped. Still looks like he can run. I don't know, and I said this earlier, Ira, I don't know of a player that, well, I do, but there are very few players who I can tell you assuredly that had he had any kind of a non-injured pro career would have been more well thought of than Peter Warwick. I think his pro career hurts him in the way that people remember him because just collegiately, I may not have seen a more spectacular player in the open field than Peter Warwick, and I mean that.
The best one, there's not a lot of good things that happen on Twitter, but one of the best things that's ever happened on Twitter is every month or two, somebody puts out Peter Warwick's highlights. And what's just cool is you get like Chet Ochocinco or, all these players who played in the NFL who are always like, that's the guy. Like they all point to him as the greatest college football player they've ever seen.
Yeah, it's rare. I mean, like, I know I'm biased, and I try to incorporate that in my thinking when I'm exalting a player's career. But I am capable, certainly, of saying, for example, I mean, I watched Wilbur Marshall play linebacker at Florida, and he was one of the most menacing players I've ever seen play the game, and I had great admiration for the way he played the game. I can do it with our rivals. I can talk about what players were at Miami or what, it doesn't matter. I swear, I don't know anybody that is a fan of any team. You can hate Florida State. There's nobody I've ever talked to that wasn't in awe of Peter Warwick. I mean, he was unreal.
So the idea that somebody, these people in the College Football Hall of Fame balloting process are going to, I don't know if it's a written ballot or if it's electronic, but the idea that they're going to sit there and some of those people may not pick him. I mean, it's like, when Jeter didn't get in unanimously or something. It's like, what are you looking for? What did he not do in the college game?
There are things in here that I don't like, Ira, and we'll wrap it up on this. It's just a fun conversation between two old guys that love college football. But I'm going to tell you that I don't like the clause or the condition here in voting where they get to decide morally whether somebody was a good person in here. I saw that in there where they're like, there's a student athlete provision. There's something else about what you were in terms of they can consider your character, because you know how this is going to get used. I mean, if we fast forward when it's time for Jameis Winston to go in, you know what they're going to do in this voting, and he's never been charged with a crime on that. That's what I'm telling you. You could see how voters get, and I would just remove that from the equation unless somebody was convicted. Like, okay, fine, you want to exclude OJ from the Hall of Fame, gotcha. Right. But I mean, like, come on, for the most part, you got to let that go. Were they all-time great college players? That's it. That's all.
Well, that's the thing. And the reality is so much of the time the players played in terms of what media exposure there was. I mean, if a guy played in the 60s or 70s of college football, you wouldn't have known anything that was happening about any of those guys. And again, like Peter Warwick's thing was over. I mean, it was, you're talking about a hookup at a store for hundreds of dollars. It was not a ridiculous, offense. And then, like you said, Jameis's thing, it was tried out in the public and the media, but it never went to a court case. So yeah, I'm with you. I I think to me in general, it's if it's an athletic accomplishment, it's an athletic accomplishment.
Just let it go. Yeah. By the way, Ira, I'm going to let you go to your TV now. It's the bottom of the 8th. Stanford is still alive, and they've got 2 on and nobody out, baby.
Let's go.
It can happen. Tonight, 6 o'clock, the Smash. That guy right there, he's going to be on it, talking it up. It'll be a good time. Special time tonight, 6 o'clock, Monday Smash. Make sure you're tuned in, everybody. Be good, Ira. Good talking, baby.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yeah, man. That'll be fun. Let's come back and find out if Stanford beat Oklahoma. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm going to rush to my TV now. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
After a several hours long manhunt that involved multiple law enforcement agencies in Brooks County on Friday. The man was wanted in connection to a stolen vehicle attempt and subsequent shooting earlier in the day. The man was not immediately identified, and any potential charges were still under investigation. The incident began to unfold on Friday near Quitman when another man allegedly noticed a suspect was attempting to steal his vehicle. He fired several shots at the suspect and was later taken into custody. The suspect fled the scene, resulting in an exhaustive manhunt that stretched 9 miles. The search included canine units, drones, and helicopter support. Visit Tallahassee Relief released their 2023 Summer Backyard Bucket List, which includes restaurants, attractions, retail stores, and more for people to explore this summer. All you have to do is download the Visit Tallahassee app and create an account to participate. The challenge is happening now through August. 20 check-ins earn people a t-shirt, and every check-in counts as an entry for the grand prize 2-night staycation. This is Rachel and A with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Partly cloudy skies this afternoon with highs around 89. East winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy again tonight, lows level off around 67. Chance for scattered thunderstorms tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 89, lots of sunshine. Chance for scattered thunderstorms Wednesday and Thursday, 90 Wednesday, 91 Thursday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 84.
Someone who thought texting was a better idea than stopping for a traffic light slams into your rear bumper. Now your back is injured and you've got to be at work and rehab, all without a car. I'm Dana Brooks of Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we hear stories like this every day. You shouldn't pay for someone else's mistake. Call us at 850-777-7777 and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. Well, you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Still first and second with one out. We've got fingers crossed here, buddy. Fingers crossed in the hopes that it will happen.
Yeah, watching it right now. We'll see.
That's a strikeout. There's two outs now.
You probably need two wild pitches here to chase home the winning run.
Yeah, we just had a strikeout there. That's unfortunate. By the way, one last thing. Marvin Harrison is on the list to get into the Hall of Fame. One time, Marvin Harrison.
That is correct. Yes, I believe that there might be phone calls to the ballot, those who control the ballots, and they just say, Marvin's getting in, yeah?
Yeah, don't vote. Hey, listen, guys, just in your best interest, let's vote Marvin Henn. First of all, he deserved it. He's really, really good. He's all-time great.
Nobody's ever deserved anything more than Marvin Harrison deserves anything he wants. Yeah. Whatever Marvin wants, he deserves. Absolutely.
P. Simpson, I am rooting against my beloved Sooners. I don't care anything about OU softball. Never really have care. I think the relatives in my family that graduated from Oklahoma would forgive me if I rooted against their softball team. It'll be all right. So it is. We've got Stanford's going to squander this, aren't they? Hey, everybody, don't worry about Stanford squandering this opportunity. Instead, think about the fun your kids are going to have in the camps over the weekend or over the summer months, I should say, at Power Mill Sports. That's right, youth camps offering up fun, providing instruction, fundamental skills, hitting, fielding, throwing, all of that good stuff. Plus, they have all these cool activities and games. I'm a parent. I know what it's like. Your kids get bored over the summer. Trying to think where to send them. Power Mill, teaching your kids the fundamentals, really bringing out the best in their games so that when they play in their respective leagues, whether it's softball or baseball, they're getting the most out of it. Power Mill Training Academy equipping athletes who are focused in those genres of baseball and softball. Ball bat sports, kids. Ball bat sports. It's time for probables, if you would. Let's cue it up. Let's make it happen.
Going straight to that music, buddy.
We got Rays, Red Sox, Shane McClanahan, Ryan Bello, Tigers, Phillies, Joey Wentz, Aaron Nola, Royals, Marlins, Carlos Hernandez, Braxton Garrett, A's, Pirates looking to keep it going, winners of 5 straight, JP Sears, Johan Oviedo, Astros, Blue Jays, Brandon Bleak, Alec Manoah, Brewers, Reds, Julio Teheran, Andrew Abbott, Cardinals, Rangers, Adam Wainwright, Martin Perez, Cubs, Padres, Kyle Hendricks, and Blake Snell. That is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Yeah, they didn't score. Stanford did not. I fear that having 2 opportunities in the bottom of the 7th and again in the bottom of the 8th and not cashing it in, you are dying to get beat on like a 3-run bomb here coming up.
At this point, it's, hey, you might as well just go 22 innings and see if Oklahoma could be a little bit exhausted in the first of the best of 3 because they got to spend some more arms. That's what I'm just hoping for at this point, because winning now and then winning again when they have to start around the 3 o'clock hour, I don't know. That just I don't know that Stanford's going to be on the base paths every inning against the mighty Oklahoma Sooners. Probably not.
Yeah, and you're right to bring up the arms. The arms are the thing, because the bottom line is you can't get too exhausted playing softball. Let's be honest. I mean, it's just, and I say that about baseball players too. Now, over the course of a 162 game season, obviously you can get exhausted with all the travel, but I'm just talking about an individual game. This ain't football. You're not going to be tired. Let's go. You can play at noon. You can play again at 4 o'clock. You can play again at 8 o'clock if you had to. But pitching, yes.
Yeah, once again, I would expect, and I don't know if it's been announced yet or not, but I would expect that Lonnie would not start Kat in this game, and then first sign of trouble, she would be in after an opener. I don't know that it would be McKenna Reed again. It might be somebody different. But I would think that you would try and save Kat for all the innings that you possibly need, especially if it does go to a game 2. But if you can save some pitches on that arm for the best of 3, I would just let Kat throw every pitch of the best of 3 if we can get that far.
I like learning about the sport some too, and the way that it's played now. I mean, I how they utilize pitchers, Lonnie in particular, is a fascinating exercise and kind of watching. And I don't know enough. I mean, I know about a pitcher's arm in men's baseball. I don't know about a woman's arm. You watch them bring pitchers, they take them out, they put them back in the same game. It's all very, very fascinating. Hey, good work out of you. Good work, Director Matthew. Don't forget tonight, 6 o'clock, everybody. The Monday Smash will get started. Be well, everybody. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Peace.